Hello everyone and welcome back to Royalty Soaps. Today I'm doing an Ask the Duchess video. I asked you guys on Facebook and Instagram to message me your questions, and hopefully I will get through as many of them as I possibly can and still make a decent length video. The first thing that I'm going to do is go on Facebook and kind of answer the top asked questions. So the first one is from Elizabeth. She says, I'm having a horrible time with soda ash. I have read and tried everything that I can think of. How do you combat soda ashes? I don't see any on your amazing creations. Thanks for any advice. Thank you very much for the compliment. This is a tricky one, and one that I see a lot of people have problems with, and nobody ever really gives a straight answer, and that's because there really is a couple of things that it could be. One of them is your climate. If you are living in a humid climate or there's lots of humidity in your house, they will most likely ash. Now that I have a soap studio and it is different from the house that I'm living in, you can probably look on some of my older videos and see that my soaps did ash. Well, once I moved from here to there, no more ash. So one, get rid of the humidity. Number two, try a water discount if your recipe allows you to do so. If you have a lot of hard oils, I don't recommend water discounts, and I don't think water discounts are the catch-all for every soap problem that you have. But for soda ash specifically, it's very effective. Again, don't do this if you have a lot of hard oils. However, if you're using a lot of olive oil, if you're using a lot of rice bran, if you're using a lot of canola in your recipe, try that. If neither of those two things work, try a different recipe. Kirsten says, how or why do you think that Royalty Soaps has become so successful? Okay, so I'll answer that question first. Number one, I definitely think it has to do with the support system that I have. I live in a very artist-friendly environment in my family. We have a lot of different people that are very good at a lot of different creative outlets. My mother is an impeccable artist. I'll have to show you what she painted on one of our walls sometime soon. My brother is a 3D modeler, gamer, built his own computer sort of nerd thing. I have another brother who's a painter and a writer. Point being, adding soap to this equation was not really that big of a deal and was really something that I think my family easily accepted. All of my grandparents were very supportive. So when you're in an environment that is encouraging you to grow and encouraging and inspiring you to learn, I honestly think you have a leg up. And number two, hard work, man. I have busted my can to get Royalty Soaps to where it is at now. It requires you to be very proactive. You have to go and seek out things. You have to try different things. I didn't just sell on Etsy at one point. I also went to craft shows. I tried farmers markets. I experimented with a lot of different things, and so hard work is really the main reason why Royalty Soaps has even gotten this far. She also says, and were you ever at the point that it was taking off quicker than you thought you could handle? If so, how did you deal with it? Feeling that right now. LOL. Thanks, girl. Well, yes, of course I have felt that way. I felt more that way when I was less organized. Whenever you have your day organized by the hour, it doesn't leave a lot of room for you to either forget something or screw stuff up or have a lot of extra stuff on your plate, because everything is just so detailed in the organization. And sticking to the plan that you make for yourself, in other words, if you say, I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock and start making oils, and then you wake up the next day and you are like, just 30 more minutes. No, bad. Don't do that. So make a very detailed schedule, stick to it. Make the schedule around work if you have another job. Make the schedule around family things if you have stuff to do, and leave a little bit of leeway just in case an emergency happens. Jessica asks, what is your go-to company for scents and why? Okay, now this is asked like 5 or 6 times that I have just seen on this one thing I don't even know about Instagram. So fragrance suppliers, here's who I use. I use Wholesale Supplies Plus. I use Nature's Garden candles. I use Brambleberry. I use Peak candles. I use Sweet Cakes, and I use Nurture soap, and I use a couple more that I can't remember off the top of my head. So that's quite a few fragrance suppliers. So then Lisa says that her question kind of pairs with Jessica, but she was wondering how I keep that portion cost effective to keep soap pricing reasonable. She says, essential oils are so expensive and the amount I've seen you pour in makes me wonder if my little bottle will fade into nothingness. Well, the first thing to note is that every fragrance oil is different and they all have a percentage that you are supposed to use per product that you're making. They'll have a maximum usage for soap. Most of the time it's 5%, but sometimes, especially if you're purchasing from the UK, that percentage is lower. Fragrance oils are expensive. The way that I get around that is I buy no less than 16 ounces of fragrance oil most of the time. You buy that much, you get a really, really good discount. However, I will say do not skimp on fragrance oils. If they're just so expensive for you, I'm sorry, that's kind of the price of making soap, I guess, if you want them to be really strong. If you don't, use less fragrance oils. But if you do want your soap to be strong, do not skimp on quality and do not skimp on price. So Cindy asks, I'm just curious, when you get a bad batch, which will need to be redone, what steps do you take to salvage that bad batch? Is there any point where the batch is not salvageable? Kind of. It depends on what's wrong with it. It depends on what's wrong with it. I don't get bad batches very often. I hope that doesn't sound prideful, but I just don't. And so when I do, it's most of the time a shock to me, and it's to the point that I just can't save it. I know some people hot process and rebatch that, and don't get me to lying about how well that works, because I honestly don't know. I don't really do the whole rebatch or hot process thing, which was another question. Somebody else asked me about hot process. Let me see who did that. Mandapalooza on Instagram asked me if I've ever done hot process soap and what's my opinion on it. My opinion on it, for me personally, is more trouble than it's worth. It takes a long time. I'm impatient. I want things to get done fast. I want the colors to do what I want, and I know that hot process tends to be more goopy and you can do less designs with it, so to me that's like not appealing. Janet asked me, how in the world do you post your Etsy banner correctly? Mine is small and long. Well, I use the correct pixel width. It is 760 pixels across and 100 pixels wide, so you need to take GIMP or something to that effect. I think that there's a couple of different ones online that you can use, and size it correctly. There's lots of tutorials on that online. Etsy actually has the correct listing thing. Maybe I'm feeling, as I'm talking, I'm feeling like I need to make a tutorial on some like design things on the computer. You'll just keep asking me design questions. Is that what needs to happen? Please give this video a thumbs up if you think that I need to make some design tutorials, like how to do labels and how to do things in the shop and how to do stuff like that. P. Ferd asks, I am having terrible luck coloring my soap purple. What can I do, please? Purple Vibrance from Nurture Soap. That's all I have to say about that. Just use it. You will not be sorry. So Carolyn asked me, do you find that sales picked up for you once you started doing YouTube videos, and do you recommend YouTube as a marketing tool? Yes and no. Yes, my sales did pick up, and do I think I recommend it? It depends. It depends on how much time you're going to be willing to put into YouTube. For it to be effective, I think that you have to upload relatively often. You need to have video quality that is pretty good. You need to work on editing skills. You need to know how to make correct thumbnails. You need to know how to reach your audience. And if you're not willing to put in all of that time, YouTube is not for you. There will also be things on YouTube that you have to deal with that are not soap related, including you are kind of putting yourself out there for hate. So if you're not able to deal with negativity from other people's very well, I do not think that that is for you. Out of all social media, out of all social networking platforms, YouTube is the most time consuming. It is the most brain consuming. Mainly the social media that I recommend is Facebook and Instagram. Those are the ones that I think reach the most amount of people and require the least amount of effort. Miss Debbie says, every time I use titanium dioxide in my soap, I will always get, or what I believe to be, Glycerin Rivers. However, when I don't use titanium dioxide, my soap is fine. Am I doing something wrong, or is this a common occurrence? How can I prevent it from happening in my soap next time? And do you have any tricks or advice adding it to your soap? Okay, I'm going to dispel this myth once and for all. Titanium dioxide does not cause glycerin rivers. I use so much titanium dioxide, I buy it in bulk, and y'all never see glycerin rivers in my soap. No, you're not doing anything wrong, Debbie, but what I would say is try doing a water discount. Other times I have done a water discount and I didn't have titanium dioxide and I still got glycerin rivers. So it's not one of those things that is absolutely foolproof. Most of the time for me it had to do with recipe tweaking. So try doing a water discount. If your soap batch does not allow for that. Okay, this is another thing is that I get asked all the time, well, you know, what if I just do a water discount? Water discounts don't solve everything. There is a very detailed chemistry explanation for all the reasons that glycerin rivers are happening in your soap. It can be caused from too much heat. It can be caused from not enough heat. It can be caused from not proper emulsifying. Lots of different factors. It's one of those things that you absolutely just have to work and power through. If something isn't working, change it. If that doesn't work, change it. It's just one of those things. So if you're seeing stuff like, water discounts solve everything, they don't. They really don't. I promise. I have made a soap, and here's just to prove it. I've made a soap with a 10% superfat, half water, half lye. Like 50-50 split, which I didn't sell this, it was just an experiment. Still got glycerin rivers. Still got them. So I'm sorry, that's probably not like the most effective and help you get results fast like answer, but it's one of those things you just really have to tweak and power through. Marianne asked me, do you have a favorite pair of soaping shoes? How about video shoes? I do, believe it or not, I actually do. There's a pair of shoes that I wear every single time that I film videos. They're like my Adidas shoes that the cat bought me for my birthday, and they have little pink stripes, and he bought me glitter shoelaces, and they're just like my creative shoes. Christy asked me, what is my favorite scent of all time? Gee, that is a good one. I have no idea. I have so many favorites. I really like champagne from Brambleberry. It's delicious. So moving on to Instagram, let's see, Evita_LR says, I'm having so much trouble with bleeding colors, even oil-based ones. Please give some tippa. And then she says, some tips. Ha ha. Alright, there's a really quick, really quick answer to this. One, either use less colorant, or two, try different colorants. That's all there is to it. Y'all have seen how many colorants I have. Some of them bleed, some of them don't. The ones that bleed I use less, and if I don't want to have any chance of bleeding, use a different colorant. Positive Sud says, how long before you started making a profit, and is this your full-time job? Yes, this is my full-time job, and it was about 2.5 years before I really started turning a profit. Mrs. Crystal Star, I love you, Mummy Star. Asks, best advice for YouTubers on coping with haters. Ignore them. That is the best advice. Ignore them, delete their comments, if you have time for that. Deleting comments is a very effective way to shut them up, and let me tell you why. Because nobody else feels like they have to rise up in your defense, so you're helping other people out. You're helping yourself out because you don't have to know that those videos have negative comments on them, so it kind of gives you peace of mind, and out of sight, out of mind. You delete that, you tend to sort of forget it. And 3, because it gives the hater no voice. You delete their comment, they don't have a voice. They just essentially wasted their time. That sounds so mean, but it's true. People that are being negative, just delete it and forget about them. Angel Heath asked me, did you ever get your soap Cottage that your parents gave you for your birthday? It is in the works. It is one of those things where they're like, here it is, and I was like, yay, and everyone was excited, and then unexpected medical things happened, and unexpected bills happened, and blah, 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 so it kind of got put on the back burner, but it is definitely happening. In fact, my dad just talked to me the other day, the king, you know, and he told me that he hoped that within the spring, summer area they would start construction, so I'm thrilled about that. Ellie Grace says, best book you've ever read. I don't think this necessarily has to do with soap making, and so I'm going to say Anna Karenina. I just finished that, and that is like one of the best books I have ever read. If not Anna Karenina, then The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Tips for new soap makers. I am making an entire video with 10 tips for starting a business for soap making, getting into soap making for more than just a hobby, blah blah blah. I will be doing a completely separate video on that, so stay tuned. Music for Life 55 says, how is life, Katie? Life is a bowl of cherries. For those asking about a soap room tour, it has been made. In fact, this video is probably coming after that, so you've already seen it. Je m'appelle Angie. I'm sure I've just butchered that, but there you go. Asked, would you ever collaborate with another soap guru on YouTube? Yeah, if somebody would ask me finally. Seriously, I've gone this whole time and nobody's asked me to collaborate with them. It hurts my feelings. But yes, I totally would if somebody would ask me. Nick's Bath says, can you make a video about your sugar and cream scrubs and a video of your soap room? Soap room is done. Cream and sugar scrubs. I never even thought about that. Would y'all really be interested in that? Thank God for Caroline's, who AKA is the best friend, says, why don't platypuses have wings? This is what happens when best friends find your Q&A thing. How am I supposed to know why platypuses have wings? Because they are not interested in flying. That's why. They're not interested in flying. Alright, and now I'm just going to address the whole to gel, to cover, to not to gel, blah blah blah. Number 1, I do not cover my soaps. Number 2, I do not insulate my soaps. Number 3, I do not gel my soaps. And number 4, there is no fourth point. That's pretty much it. Salt, salt, salt. This is the last question that I'm answering. Says, hi, I'm stage shy for video. Do you think the medium is a must in this day and age? Thank you for your willingness to share. No, it's not. It's really not. I know plenty of very, very successful artisans and soap makers that have never been on YouTube before. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys found it informative. I hope you all have a fabulous day, and I'll see y'all next time. So until then, bye for now.